Hi, my name is Roguelike and welcome to my Caves of Qud tutorial video. This is going to be a total beginner's guide and I'm going to try and keep the video as short as possible. I'm not going to go into certain detailed things like dice rolls and things, but I'm going to give you a brief overview of the game, setting up a game, creating a character, all that good stuff. So what is Caves of Qud? Caves of Qud is a turn-based roguelike RPG developed by Freehold Games. It can be pretty daunting when you first see it, but in reality it only takes an hour or so to learn the basics before you're able to understand what's going on and how to survive. The video is going to teach you the basics here. We're going to split it into 3 parts. You can navigate those using the chapter feature below. And these parts will be selecting a game mode and creating a character, the UI and the menus, and finally some basic gameplay including combat, trading and some tips. The video will be completely spoiler free so you don't have to worry about anything like that. So without further ado, let's jump in. I'm going to make a new game here. Now when you click new game you'll be greeted with 4 options. You've got classic mode. This is your permadeath mode. This is what I like to play on. When you die in this mode your save will be deleted. There's roleplay mode. This is essentially permadeath but with checkpoint saves every time you go to a town or a settlement, as it says here. Wonder mode is kind of unique because you don't get XP for killing enemies, you only get XP for making discoveries and speaking with NPCs. Also, most creatures begin neutral to you, so if you're not looking for combat then this is maybe the mode for you. Then finally we have the daily, which is a daily challenge where you can compete against other players and get a high score at the end. I'm going to do classic for the purposes of this tutorial. We then get given 5 options. There are presets in the game. These are pre-made characters, as you can see. However, we're going to do a new character. You can also pick a random character. You can save your characters to a library so that you can remake them without having to go through each of these tabs. And you can select the last character that you played as well. If you happen to die and you want to do the same character again without rebuilding it, you click this. I'm going to go new. There are 2 kinds of characters in the game. There's Truekin and there's mutants. Truekin are cybernetic humans that use implants to get more powerful. Mutants are mutated humans that have a whole bunch of different mutations that they can use. I consider mutants the kind of, I suppose, default way to play the game. They're a little bit weaker, generally speaking, than Truekin, but they can become more powerful, in my opinion, with their mutations by the mid to late game. I'm going to do mutant for the sake of this tutorial. It doesn't really matter what character we build here. I'm not going to go in depth into character creation. I will do a separate tutorial if you're interested in that. Let's go gunslinger. I like the sprite for this. You can see we start with +2 agility, pistol skill, akimbo, which means we can wield 2 pistols, and some bonus rep. Okay, now this is the all-important mutation screen. I will quickly go over what all of these mean. If you want an in-depth tutorial on each of these mutations, as well as the defects, I will link it below in the description. I did a live stream over on my VOD channel, you can watch that, and I go into detail on all mutations in the game. So, morphotypes, you've got Chimera, Esper. Chimera, think of this as your physical mutant, Esper as your mental mutant. If you select either of these, you will be locked out of picking the opposite. So if we pick Chimera, we can only take physical mutations and we are locked out of mental. Same is true for Esper. We can no longer take physical, we can only take mental. Unstable genome is kind of a lucky dip. You put a point into this, it costs 3 points. You start with 12 points, by the way, every time you make a new character. Picking unstable genome, basically, there's a 1 in 3 chance every time you level up that this will manifest and it will give you a random list of 3 mutations you can pick from. So if you don't know what to pick, you can try this and see what you get. Could be good, could be bad. I'll do 1 just for the sake of the tutorial. Before I get into picking mutations, you might want to consider taking a defect. Defects give you extra points, but they come with a pretty hefty downside in a lot of instances. I like taking tonic allergy. I don't find it too bad. It gives you 4 free points. What should we take here? I will say some good starting mutations you might want to consider. Horns, very powerful. Similarly, corrosive gas, probably my favorite mutation. And for mental, you might want to consider force bubble or force wall. We'll go force bubble here. And that leaves us with 3 points. Why don't we take burgeoning? Burgeoning's very fun. Let's move along, and now we get to the attribute screen. This is where you're going to basically dole out points between each of the 6 attributes here to build your mutant even further. So we have strength, and it tells you what each of these do down here. Strength is basically how much you can carry, how much damage you do with melee, your ability to resist forced movement, although that's less important. Agility is your accuracy with melee and ranged, and your ability to dodge. Toughness is your health, how fast you regen your health. Intelligence determines the number of skill points you get when you level up. I will go into a bit more depth about skill points in a moment. Willpower affects your cooldowns of each of your abilities. It also modifies how quickly you can heal. And lastly, ego. This is how good you are at trading, essentially, how much people are willing to give you lower prices. And it also greatly affects any mental mutation, and that's a really important point. For now, I'm going to go with a really even spread here. 18 is good because it gives you 1 extra modifier, which is what this number is down here. And I'll show you that in more depth in a moment. Okay, this is about as well-rounded as you can get, I think. We're going to let intelligence kind of take a bit of a hit here, that's fine. Okay, then finally you get your summary here, where you can see everything that you've picked. Then you click one more time here, pick a name. We're going to go random for the sake of this. And a starting location. Joppa is what I would recommend. It's pre-generated. Everything there will always be the same, with a few exceptions. These are all randomly generated villages. It tells you what you get for starting in each one down here, but I recommend Joppa for the first few times that you play. Okay, and now we are loading in the game. Okay, so now we're in game. You will get this flavor text pop up at the start. You can read that. I recommend reading a lot of the text in the game. It's really good. It's really well written. For this section, I'm going to quickly cover the UI as well as some of the menus in game, because you're going to want to know how to use them. I will tell you each keybind that I use to open each menu. So starting in the top left, this is us. This is our name. This is our HP. This is our experience bar. This will fill up. We go across here. This is our temperature. Temperature is pretty important. You don't want to get too hot. You don't want to get too cold. Keep an eye on that. Sated, quenched. This is our food and drink, respectively. These will get lower. If this goes down, you want to eat. If this goes down, you want to drink. Drinking is automatic. Eating you will need to do at a campfire. This is your carry capacity. Right now we can carry a total of 270 pounds. We're currently carrying 39 pounds. This is our currency, which is water in the game. We currently have 32 drams of water, or $32, however you want to envision it. You have your quickness here, which basically determines how many actions you can do in a single turn. Starts at 100. The higher this goes, the more stuff you can do. If it goes over 100, say you've got 150 quickness, those extra 50 points will roll over to your next turn. The higher your quickness, the more things you can do per turn. After that, we have our movement speed. Movement speed is technically affected by quickness, but movement speed doesn't affect your quickness. Movement speed is how many tiles you essentially can move per turn. If this is 200, you're going to move at twice the speed as you would at 100. Next up, we have your AV, which is your armor value. This is the total of all of the armor that your character has. Obviously, the higher, the better. And this is your DV. This is your dodge value. You start with 6 dodge value by default. And this is the likelihood that you can dodge attacks, essentially. This is buffed by your agility and also by armor that you're wearing. Then we have your MA, which is your mental armor. This is how well you will ward off mental attacks by enemy. So it's kind of like AV, except for it's for mental attacks. And this is increased with your willpower. We have the date. We have, this is a clock here. It's a little moon and the sun will come up, tells you the time of day. And finally, this is your location. So let's go down here. We have active effects. This is where you will see any kind of effects. If your character is bleeding, it will tell you here. If you're stunned, it will tell you here. So anything that's happening to your character right now, look here and it will tell you. Here we have target. This is if you're fighting an enemy, it will tell you your enemy, how tough they are and how much damage they've taken. And then finally here we have our ranged weapon, which goes down here. These are our bullet indicators. You can see we have 6 shots in these pistols that we have at the moment. And then we have our ability bar at the bottom. These are all of your abilities. You can click them to use them, or you can activate them with hotkeys, which is what the numbers are here. So number 1 will activate Force Bubble, number 2 Burgeoning, etc. Last, we have our combat log. Anything weird happens, you're going to want to read about it in here. This is going to tell you what's going on. And minimap. Okay, so that's a really, really brief introduction to the UI. Now I'm going to cover hotkeys and the menus in the game. So, let's start with our inventory. You're going to hit I to open inventory. And here we go. You can collapse and expand all of the categories. You can see we've got ammo, armor, food. Collapse with the minus key, expand with the plus key. You can press space to bring up a sub menu and you can get more info. We can look at stuff here. On this side, it tells us the weight of the item. Down here we have our total carry capacity and our current total weight that we are holding. Now we're going to cover our equipment screen, which you can access pressing E. This tells us everything that we currently have equipped. Again, press space if you want to find out more info. So this list can get pretty big. Similarly, the little asterisk that you see here, this is telling us the limb that we're currently using as our main limb for combat. So right now we're using our fist. Since we have horns, we're going to go up to horns here, and if you press, like it says here, slash or tab also works, that will set that body part as your main source of damage. If you're using horns, I recommend keeping that as the main source of damage, because they're really good. We are going to press X for our character sheet. Here we can see all of the stuff we picked at the start, all of our stats. We have, again, strength, agility, toughness, intelligence, willpower, and ego. The numbers in the brackets here are, every time you level up 2 points into each of these, you get a bonus. Strength, the higher this number is, the more penetration value you have. I will cover that briefly in a moment. Accuracy, the higher this number, this goes towards your dodge value, which I showed you. We get 1 extra dodge value right now from our agility bonus. Toughness is your HP and HP gain. Intelligence, like I said, is your skill points. Willpower, this bonus here goes towards your mental armor. So the higher this is, the better you'll be at resisting psychic attacks. Ego is kind of unique in that this basically not only affects the price at which you can buy and sell things, but the bonus will also level up any mental mutations that you have. Right now we have Force Bubble, and if we click it, You'd say it says here the mutation's rank is increased by 1 due to your high ego. So this is really level 2. The problem is because we're only level 1, our character right now, it's also being capped. Over here we have our mutations. This is the level that we have. By default, you can only level a mutation to level 10. However, you will have the option every, I believe, 10 levels to rapidly advance a mutation. 10 levels starting at level 5. That will let you add another 3 to the total. So you can get a mutation to level 13. These are our resistances. Active effects. This is the same as this down here, but you can get more detail. So if we press E, which is why this is highlighted here, it will give us a more detailed list of all of the effects we have. HP, XP, skill points. You get skill points every time you level up. That is determined by your intelligence. Attribute points. Starting at level 3, you get 1 attribute point, and then you get one every 6 levels, I believe. And then starting at level 6, you get +1 to every attribute. And again, that happens every 6 levels after that. And then finally, we have mutation points. Every time you level up, you get 1 mutation point. If you save up 4 of them, which it says here, you can buy a new random mutation. It will give you a list of 3 mutations. Again, could be good, could be bad. Otherwise, you're going to want to put them, allocate them into each of the mutations that you've started with. Okay, next up we have the skills screen. You can access this by pressing K. Your skills screen, again, is collapsible and expandable with plus and minus. Every time you get skill points, you're going to want to basically, this is where you kind of build your character. You're going to want to spec into whichever tree interests you. We've started with pistol because of the class that we're using. When you buy into a tree here, like wayfaring for example, we would spend 100 skill points to unlock the tree. Anything with a 0 you automatically unlock when you buy into the tree. So if we got wayfaring, we would also get mind compass. And then under that it tells you how much the next skill in this tree costs, so 25 and 50 skill points, as well as any prerequisites you might need. So if we wanted to get wilderness lore, hills and mountains here, we would need to have 17 intelligence to access that. Okay, pressing N will open up your tinkering menu here. Now we have no recipes. Tinkering is really cool in this game. It adds a lot of flavor. It essentially allows you to modify and build weapons and armor and items. You can learn recipes. You have to be level 19 to get the first level of tinkering. And there are 2 tabs in here. There's build, which is where you build brand new items, and mod, which is where you modify existing items. So for example, you might have a sword, you want to mod it with the sharp modifier. If you know it, then you go to mod and you can do it from there. Again, I can make a tutorial specifically explaining all this stuff. If you guys are interested, just let me know. Next up, we have our journal. J for journal. This is going to keep all of the stuff that you've learned throughout the game. So locations. We currently know nothing because it's right at the start of the game. Gossip, Sultan histories, village histories, chronology. Chronology is an interesting one. And general notes. You can add notes here by pressing /. You can just put like test, hit enter. There you go. So this is where you can kind of keep notes. If you find anything interesting out in the world, you can do that. And recipes. There's a whole bunch of cooking recipes in the game as well. Okay, and then with Q, you can open up your quest log. We currently have no quests, but they would be here otherwise. And then finally, factions, which is Control F. This is just going to tell you your rep with all of these factions. Plenty of factions in the game. You can also sort this by moving over to the right hand side here by just pressing the right arrow or number 6 on the numpad and pressing enter, and that will put everything in order of rep. Okay, A to activate your ability bar. So this is where all your abilities will go. As you can see, this is the same thing as down here. You can actually click and drag to change the placement, and then when you come out of that menu, it will switch on your bar. If you want to keep any of this in mind, if you forget, you can press F1, and that will open up this really handy quick start guide. I recommend reading through all of this. It's got a lot of really good info in it. It goes over pretty much everything that we've covered, but in more detail. Again, you can use these categories at the side here if there's anything that you want to know about in particular, like saving throws. F1 for that. I will say, and this is my first tip as well, a hotkey that I see a lot of people not really ever using or maybe even knowing about is if you press Backspace, it will open up points of interest on that particular map. So instead of you having to walk over to an NPC now, we can just select Mehmet, for example, in this list, press enter, and we will instantly move to him. Same with the cat, Stesiphus up here. Really handy to have, saves a lot of time. Okay, moving on now. We have basic gameplay. So, you're going to move with your numpad. You can also use your arrow keys, but with the numpad you can also go diagonal. So, for example, 2 to go down, 4 to go left, 8 to go up, 6 to go right, as well as diagonals using 7, 9, 1, and 3. You can press 0 to do auto-explore. I always recommend you auto-explore a map if you can. I will get to that in a moment. When you've finished auto-exploring, there's nowhere else left, the game will tell you. You can press 5 to skip a turn if you don't want to do anything. You can press the full stop or period key on your numpad to skip 20 turns. You can also press plus to go downstairs and minus to go upstairs. We can also show you looking. Now you're going to want to press L to look, and this is going to basically show you what you're looking at. It's going to give you details on NPCs as well as any rep that they might have. You can also see here what they have equipped as well as any kind of mutations they might have. Where it says impossible, this is their relative strength compared to you. The stronger you are, the lower down this will go. You can see right now they are neutral towards us also. Next up, I'm going to tell you about the water ritual. If we go up to a character here and press space to talk with them, you can see we have this option to do the water ritual. The water ritual is very important in Caves of Qud. It basically is a kind of agreement that you are a friend with someone. Once you water ritual with somebody, you cannot undo it. You can kill the character, but you have really serious repercussions for doing that. If we drink with this character using the water ritual, you can see we share our water. You can see that those factions that this character has rep with, they now like us slightly more. That's gone up by 100 and 100. So that's how you gain faction points. You don't want to necessarily just drink with everybody in the game, because some people, they're going to lower your faction relations. If you need to kill them at some point, then that's going to be a big issue. We can also press tab to trade with characters. This particular character has nothing to trade, but if we go to the trader, which is here, this is Tam, and we speak with Tam, we press tab. I'll show you a little bit about the trading screen here. Everything on the left is everything that the merchant owns. Everything on the right is stuff that you own. You can see down here, this is our total amount of water, which remember is our currency. This is our weight. And the same is true for the trader. Traders technically have unlimited drams that they can sell you. So say we want to buy this leather armor. We can select it, pressing enter here. You can see now there's a 1, which means we're willing to buy this. And then it will tell us the total of everything in it. You can think of this as like your shopping cart, right? The total of everything in your cart. So if we also wanted to buy these strange tubes, that would go up, and so on. Anything with a golden dollar symbol here means that this is a fixed price. Anything with blue tells you that the higher your ego, and if you have a certain skill, this can fluctuate. That's essentially what that means. So anything gold is fixed. To finalize a purchase, you press 0. It says here, 0 for offer. And it will say you'll have to pony up 12 drams of fresh water to even up the trade. It's because our total comes to 11.9. It's always rounded up. So you press Y for yes. Trade complete. There you go. We now have leather armor. We can equip that, by the way, by going to our inventory, like I said, and selecting it, and then pressing E for equip. Or we can go into our equipment screen, selecting the body part, which leather armor goes on, which is the body. Pressing R to remove our woven tunic, and then pressing space again and selecting leather armor. So there's multiple ways to do things in Qud. Okay, now I want to show you cooking. I'm going to go over to this oven here, and again you can get to the oven by using the backspace key. I'm going to press space. Space is generally the kind of context sensitive button that you're going to want to use if you do stuff. When you activate the oven, depending on if you have cooking skills, you can actually choose ingredients to cook with. The cooking in this game is absolutely insane. There's so much variety. Every item gives you a completely different effect. You can really mix and match everything to get some really interesting stuff. Otherwise, we're just going to eat. And then after, it will tell us what the benefits of eating that particular recipe are. So we get 11% to natural healing from eating this particular recipe. Okay, so I think now we should probably go and do a little bit of combat. So I'm going to go out into the world here. By the way, I always recommend, whenever you see these statues over here, I recommend looking at them. The little tip is the first 2 statues that you encounter in Joppa will give you some lore. Lore can sometimes be traded in for XP. And this particular statue, which is always north of Joppa, will actually give you a quest. It will tell you about an artifact that was owned by a sultan in the past that they've now lost. And it will give you a location, which is called a historic site. And you can go and retrieve that artifact. You can actually press J to open your journal, and it will tell you, press enter to open it, and it will tell you where that historic site is. And if you press enter here and tick this box, it means it will appear on the Overworld Map. I'll show you the Overworld Map now. You can activate that by pressing the minus key, which is to go up. And it will say, are you sure you want to go to the world map? Press Y. Now the world map will always be the same here. It's static by default. Everything that you see here will always be here. However, the locations that you encounter will be random every time. So certain things like this here, this here, this here, for example, they're always there as fixed locations. Every other tile has the potential to have completely random stuff in it. So you will encounter other villages, dungeons, all of the cool stuff like that. It will be different each time. This is flashing because this is what we just selected in our journal. This is the historic site. Each tile, you can see, again, you can use the L key to look around. Each tile here is called a parasang. And this tile is made up of 9 separate screens, essentially, in a 3x3 grid. So each one of these is actually a 3x3. So each tile has a whole bunch of different screens associated with it, which the game world is absolutely huge. So plenty of things to find. Now we're going to go back to Joppa here. In the way that you go up by pressing minus, you go back down pressing the plus key. And that's true also for stairways. I'm going to show you another. I wasn't going to show you this tip, but there's a little tip here. There is actually a dungeon in the starting village. You can go to this little pond over here, and this crack will appear. You can see a stone crack is revealed. If you go on top of that and you press plus, That counts as a stairway, so you will go down. We're not going to do that right now. I'm actually just going to go out into the wild. I'm going to show you a bit of combat, and then we can wrap this tutorial up. So out in the world, here we go. A crocodile right off the bat. Then we can look at that by pressing L and hovering over it. Now, one thing I will show you, we happen to start with a pretty good ranged weapon here. You can see we press F to fire. You want to press F again. You can also use the mouse. You can press F again or click with the mouse to fire. We missed. We actually shot this glow pad over here. Let's try that again. Missed again. We're not very good. Oh no, we did get hit that time. And you can see now in the target thing it says croc damaged. That's because we've shot it. Now I'm going to finish this croc off with my horns. I'm going to let it come over to me. I do that by pressing 5, which skips a turn. The way you attack in Qud is simply by moving into the enemy. So he is in the top right corner, which is the number 9 key on my numpad. Boom, they're dead. And you can see our XP bar filled up there. Tells you down here, we got 75 XP for that. We hit for 3 damage, and we made the croc bleed. Horns have a natural bleeding ability associated with them. And with that done, that's kind of how combat works. After you've killed an enemy, you'll see that there's a blood splat here. You can stand on top of the blood splat and press G to pick up anything they drop. This crocodile only dropped its corpse. Normally you don't want to pick up corpses because they weigh a whole bunch, but we can actually pick it up. So I'm going to stand on it, I'm going to press G. You can see we've now picked the corpse up. You can also, let me kill one more enemy. Or actually no, here's what I'll do. I'll drop the corpse. You can drop by pressing D. If you don't want to stand on top of the tile, and sometimes there's a reason you can't. Maybe there's maybe the tile's on fire and you don't want to stand on it to pick up an item. You can also press Control Space and then select the direction. It says here interact, select direction. We're going to press up, which is number 8, and we can do it from this menu as well. That's a little tip for you there. So with that all said and done, I think that pretty much covers most things. Oh, quickly, you can just see right now that we our character is grayed out. That is because it is nighttime. You're going to want to keep a torch in one of your hands. You do start with torches. Very useful for underground, obviously. And I think that about does it for this tutorial. Remember, every game is going to be slightly different. I always encourage people trying out new builds and skills. You will die a lot, but that's all part of the experience with Caves of Qud. If there's anything you would like me to cover more in depth, please let me know. I do have plans to make more in-depth tutorials based on things like combat and items in the future. I will link the big mutations video I did down below. It's a tier list video if that's your cup of tea. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and leaving a comment. I have a whole other channel full of Caves of Qud videos, which I'll link below as well. I regularly stream Caves of Qud over on Twitch, weekdays from 6 PM BST. We recently got all 100 achievements in classic mode, so we're doing a lot of weird and wacky runs at the moment. It would be great to have you there. Come say hi, and until next time, live and drink, but most of all, have fun. Bye bye.